Welcome to Ronin Geek Official Podcast. I almost didn't make it. I was just putting my headphones on. So this is Alex Austin with us in the room today. We have
Plebby and Adam.
And we're going to deep dive, welcome to Ronin Geek Official Podcast, where we break down the hottest franchises in gaming, movies, and TV, analyze the essence of each, and discuss their strengths and weaknesses. The question we're looking to answer from week to week, do these franchises stay true to their roots? And today, the topic is...
Metroid Prime!
That's better than the way I was going to say it, so that worked beautifully. That's the voice of a Metroid. That's the voice of the Hunter Metroid. Yeah, that's what he sounds like. Like an absolute...
No, it's the Super Metroid, because it's Mommy, Samus!
So I love that Metroids are all just Poindexters at this point. That's amazing.
I'm imagining more like a Skeletor, like, yo, booba!
Yeah.
Samus!
So, but that's true, and that's going to be part of the breakdown that we do today as well. So we'll explore the history of Metroid a little bit, break it down. We do want to make a determination now in light of the current big topic, which is Metroid Prime Remastered, coming out for the Nintendo Switch.
Wait, is it called Remastered?
I don't know.
I think it's called Remastered, yeah.
Yeah.
It's remastered.
And the fact that there was a high-profile digital release, now a high-profile physical release, and it is selling so well that Nintendo cannot possibly keep up with the demand, which is pretty amazing for a game that came out in 2001? I think it's 2001.
Metroid Prime is, 2002.
2002. So I got it when I was in college. I do recall that. So yeah, Metroid Prime, very, very, very good game. Back on the Nintendo GameCube, and honestly, for its day, I remember thinking like, oh, this is like kind of a cutting edge shooter for the Nintendo GameCube. Like it was actually pretty good looking game, played well, very smooth, and then it's an experience that is translated very well into the remastered version on Nintendo Switch so far. I'm pretty pleased.
Yeah, I was very confused as to how they would do some of the controls, because I'm like, there's no way they can keep the old controls.
Right.
There's no way. And it was kind of, I think it was more amazing as it was a stealth launch.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I don't know what it is about Nintendo or whoever's choosing to do these launches, but we've had it a few times on Switch where they'll show up and be like, all right, it's our Nintendo. What do they call it? Nintendo Play? No, what do they do? Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, Nintendo
They'll be like,
Direct.
hey, it's Nintendo Direct. You can also go download this game right now.
Like literally now.
Right now. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah. They like to launch stuff when everybody's watching the Direct.
Yeah.
Because nobody's looking at the eShop, right? And then they launch something in the eShop, you update it, and it's like, oh, by the way, it's there. Amazing. So and everybody gets excited about it. So it was a really cool event. I was very, very excited that it went down that way. What was the actual date it came out? It was like 3 weeks ago now, maybe 2.5 weeks ago.
February something.
Yeah. Anyway, so sometime earlier this month. So we don't have any official sales numbers yet, but I'm guessing the digital version sold pretty well. Seemed like it was trending on Twitter quite fast following the launch.
I'll be honest and say this is an interesting topic when it comes down to like the Metroid series as a whole.
Yeah.
I thought that Metroid Dread, because of all the hype that came with Metroid Dread, that people now were into Metroid because of the Prime series.
Yeah.
And because of the Switch and because of Hollow Knight, people were more into Metroidvanias in general. I thought we would get a lot more attention, but Metroid Dread did not sell as well as I anticipated.
Yeah, Metroid Dread, I never played it actually. So this is a remake of Metroid 2, correct?
No, Metroid Dread is its first whole new game by itself.
Oh, what am I thinking of then? I'm thinking of Metroid Samus Returns.
Yes.
Yeah, so they did, that was the one that was basically a remake of Metroid 2.
Yes.
Which was the first Metroid I ever played. So that was one of the early games I got.
Or the original 2? Or
the original 2 on the Game Boy.
Okay.
Yeah. And talk about a game that was not made for like a 7-year-old. Like, so I remember getting Metroid 2, and we'll go way back here because we're going to do the history of this thing anyway. But I remember going all the way back. So Metroid 2, I got this thing, and it was probably one of the first 3 or 4 games I got for the Game Boy from my parents, right? So they probably went to Toys R Us and were like, what games are hot? What games are white hot for this system? They're their exact words. And they said, oh, definitely Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, and they're like, oh, that sounds pretty sweet.
That's crazy.
So they got that one for me along with, I think, Tetris. I don't know, maybe Super Mario World 2 was it, or Super Mario World, whatever the Game Boy one was.
I wish my parents got me Metroid.
Yeah.
My life would be different, probably.
But I remember for the first couple of years, I would pop it in and play it every now and then. I didn't get it. Like, I wasn't making any progress. I kept getting killed by the Metroid. Then I discovered missiles. Oh, you can actually shoot missiles. And, like, that obviously is what you have to do. And then once you discover that, things start happening pretty quickly. But I just remember exploring areas in that. And it's like getting the spider ball, for instance, because in that game, the spider ball sticks to everything, right?
Yeah.
And I remember exploring just everywhere. I'd go to every room, go each wall, up the ceiling, looking for like secret
Bomb
places.
everything, missile everything.
And I just remember finding places, and I'm like, am I even supposed to be here yet? Like, this is crazy. Like, because that was the first Metroidvania I've ever played, was Metroid 2, right? And anyway, probably 4 years later, I finally beat it. Like, it was one of those games. Yeah. Kind of like when Link to the Past came, not Link to the Past, Link's Awakening came out.
The Game Boy one.
And I might have been 8 years old at the time, but I remember getting it, and it took me like probably 6 months to beat that game. Like, it was challenging. That was the first Zelda I ever played in its entirety.
It took my first Zelda was Link to the Past.
Yeah.
And it took me about a year.
Yeah. So they're tough games if you're new to the franchise.
And you didn't have guides or the internet back then.
And you didn't play Zelda 1 or 2, which if you played Zelda 1 or 2 at that point, you'd already be a master because those games were brutally difficult.
No, I never played. My introduction to Metroid was Metroid Prime.
Yeah. So good game to get started with.
Yeah.
Good game to get started with. So let's go all the way back then.
We might as well talk about that real briefly.
Yes.
That it is the game that sold the most, just minus Dread.
So yeah, it was 2.
For the longest
What did we
period.
see? It was 2.3.
2.9 mil. No, that's Dread. 2.84 mil.
Wild.
Just shy Dread. So
It's crazy talking about how that's the top selling game for Metroid, because like, what's the top selling game for like Monster Hunter World?
So I
it's
didn't
like almost, it's like 9 million copies or something.
I
like
didn't
that.
look up Monster Hunter World, but for example, something like, and that's why Metroid, everyone talks about how big Metroid is, how important it is, but it really doesn't sell all that well. If you look at its game, on average, we got like, here's the deal. Metroid 1 sold the third most now, 2.73 million.
Crazy.
And then it's been about 1.5 million ever since until Prime. So like these games don't sell that well, and that's why they don't get that many releases. Everyone's always upset about them not getting releases. It's because we don't fucking buy them.
So, well, I wouldn't blame them. So that's I wouldn't blame them for not releasing more. So Metroid 1, this came out in 1986, developed by for Nintendo fans, you know of Nintendo R&D 1, R&D 2. So these are the teams that were sort of trading off games throughout the early development cycles of Nintendo. Interestingly, so now I know it was created by was it created by? Sorry, I was just looking up there.
What are you looking for?
So I was looking for who actually created it, because I could swear it was Zelda creator. What's his name? Why can't I remember? Our Lord and Savior.
Miyamoto?
Thank you, Miyamoto. Yeah.
Shigeru
So
Miyamoto?
I thought it was Miyamoto that came up with. Oh no, it was interesting. So Gunpei Yokoi.
Yeah.
So Gunpei Yokoi, also creator of the Game & Watch.
Yes.
So also the creator of Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
So he was responsible for all of those things. So
He was the Miyamoto before Miyamoto.
it's cool though, because like he's the one who comes up with like these really like crazy out of left field ideas for Nintendo at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really cool. Like I love that legacy of Gunpei Yokoi, because
He came out with the good ones.
yeah. So, well, I mean, some of Miyamoto, obviously, did a lot of them as well. But for Nintendo R&D 1, which is the team he worked on, this was one of the biggest games I think they produced at the time. So it came to NES in North America in 1987. It was in arcade somewhere.
Really?
That was a thing. It says Arcade North America.
Wow.
1986. I'd be very curious to see what an actual Metroid arcade machine looks like. That's bizarre.
That is really weird. But back in those days, arcades were the main form of playing, except for NES.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but in Metroid 1, there's no save system, right? So you basically get passwords whenever you reach and the password is what you type in and to restart from that point.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is all saving is. Saving in the background just creates a unique code, password, hash, whatever.
With a bunch of variables.
Yeah. And that's the thing it recalls. So anyway, same thing, but it was kind of an early version of that for console, which is pretty cool. So I quite like that.
Well, you kind of had to. There's no way you're doing that game in a single run.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Dude,
not a fucking chance in the world.
Brutally difficult too. So along with that, very, very cool game though. Very different for NES as well. Definitely focused on exploration. Obviously, this came out before the first Castlevania, I believe.
I would hope so.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure this came out like a year before the first Castlevania. So I think this is the original Metroidvania.
It is. And I think what really made it, oddly enough, 3 topics made it big, made it famous. One, the dark atmosphere of like you are in a world that hates you and wants to kill you.
Yep.
You have to explore this world, so you're kind of a fish out of water. right, in this world. And that was interesting. And this dark atmosphere, all the backgrounds were dark. Even Castlevania had lighter backgrounds with castle backgrounds and things like that.
Yeah, in fact, nope. These came out the same frickin' year. Dude.
Wow.
Which is interesting. So you have one that's basically sort of like more, I don't know, not medieval, but kind of Renaissance era looking, you know, very
Gothic
different
era.
feel. Yeah, Gothic era. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So Gothic era, and then you have one that's very, very sci-fi, but both kind of doing the same thing a little bit. So with the exploration and everything. So very cool that was the period that they were in there. So 1986 was a big year for that genre because that's when the genre was created.
That's when it started.
Very cool.
I think its style and its music is really what made the game explorable. Plus, it was a lot of figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
There weren't really tutorials. You just sort of, like, 90% of the time you played Mario, you went to the right.
Yeah.
Well, this game it bucked that trend where the right choice was immediately go to the left.
Yep.
That's a genius. It's a genius thing to teach you that where you start, you don't always go right. Sometimes you go up, sometimes you go down, sometimes you got to go left.
Right. You're right.
It was a great evolution of the Marios of just always go right.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great lesson. It's one of those things that I think is fundamental. And if we're talking about, you know, what kind of one of the pillars of this game, I think one of them is good tutorials that aren't just written out to you.
Yeah. Like it's the great thing about the path that you take in the game as well is it leads you down certain corridors of rooms and challenges that you get through, and then you get to the end and you really had grind to get there, but then you get some new power, right? You get some new power up, and then when you run back through to like the sort of main areas, right, you just get to rip through enemies. So you got like the somersault attack or like the bombs for your ball form or whatever for the morph ball.
Yes.
Like, dude, once you start getting that stuff, it's just like it really genuinely feels like some accomplishment. And I think that's kind of the magic of the whole full, you know, Metroidvania thing. It's just like grinding so hard to get to one place and then getting that new attack that just makes the next little bit so much easier, so much better. So, and then going from there. But,
you get a good sense of power up.
So what was all the, among the power-ups that are included in the game? Are the morph ball?
Morph ball, screw attack. I don't know if they had gravity in the first one.
No, I don't think so. They the somersault attack, and then I swear it had spider ball as well.
I don't know if the first one did.
No,
I don't know. I don't remember it. I haven't played it in a while. I never played Front Mission.
Yeah,
or Zero Mission. Sorry, I never played Zero Mission. So I've never. Here's the deal. I have never fully completed the first game.
Okay, fair enough.
Like I said, I got into it Prime, so I had to go backwards in time.
Yeah.
And one was just I tried to play one. It was on the Switch Online or whatever.
Yeah.
It was I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
I went back and played it, and I'll tell you why. So only when I was like 12 or 13, because in Metroid 2, the original Metroid 2, I don't believe there was a Ridley boss.
Really?
Every boss in it was a version of a Metroid. Like Metroid 2 introduced way more versions of Metroid.
Yeah, because it started like the clock started like 99 Metroids or whatever the number was.
You got
30
it.
something
You got
Metroids.
it. Yeah. And you basically like killing different forms and then counting down. And the harder they get, the fewer forms there are of those, right? So you just have to work your way through the game killing it. But there's no Ridley. There's no Ridley in there.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
yeah. And then I don't know if it was technically the Mother Brain boss or something, Queen Metroid maybe it was called or something like that. But I remember the final boss in the original 2 was like the long-necked, you know, sort of Contra-looking creature.
Yeah, and you got the super power up and the Metroid saved you.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back and also see what Mother Brain was like as well. So I do recall going back and playing the first one because of that. But also to encounter Ridley as a boss.
I think it was Mother Brain, but like its AI was downloaded to something else or something like that.
And then for anyone who doesn't already know, so there is a recurring boss in the franchise of Metroid, and this boss is a pirate. I'll start with it's a pirate.
It's a pirate dragon, for Christ's sake.
It's a literal space mecha dragon that's a pirate, and he's the leader of a space race of pirates.
He's kind of like Godzilla, where there's
he's basically a kaiju.
There's Ridley, and then there's like it's not Mecha Ridley. Then there's like
no, you fuck Ridley up, and then Ridley comes back.
But then there's Mecha Ridley, which isn't Ridley. It's a full robotized version of Ridley.
Oh, I thought it was Ridley, a
different
cyborg version.
And then in Prime, they come back with Cyber Ridley. Cyborg Ridley.
Yeah, who you encounter actually pretty early in the game. You start to see Ridley pop.
Yeah, so Mecha Ridley is actually a different character. It's kind of like a Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
It is a different character than Godzilla.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
Mind you, he does all the same things. Like, it's fundamentally the same.
But such is the nature of this game. So it's just so out of left field.
I think this game set, it definitely changed games fundamentally because you had your side scrollers like Mario, you had your beat 'em ups like, and they were all side scrollers. All the games back then were side scrollers or over the head views like Zelda, right? Where you'd explore the map that way. This was the first one where it was side, and it was more like that Contra style where you shot left and right, up and down, and where its real focus was exploration, exploration and power ups. It was an RPG through skill, not through just number grinding.
Yeah. And the other nice thing about Metroid 2 is it introduced, as far as Nintendo games are concerned, a sense of verticality that a lot of games just didn't have for the day because there were so many side scrollers. In fact, that actually translated over to the Game Boy Metroid 2 very, very well, the sense of verticality. So the Game Boy is a very underpowered system.
Yeah.
So any sort of design sort of bonus they could get out of it was working well for the system. But in particular, Metroid is a great game for that because of the verticality. Because you don't, if your background is just like one section of a wall and a bunch of black, like you can make a lot of that. You know what I mean? Within a Game Boy and load it into a Game Boy card.
And I think the biggest problem with this game, aside from its technicalities of not being able to shoot on the whatever 8 axes or whatever, aside from that, one of its big things was because of those limitations. Part of the reason you get lost a lot is not because you don't have a map. Yeah. It's because every room looks the same.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny thinking about it now, playing like Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, because the Game Boy screen was also very small. The map was kind of in my head. And I kind of had to go through rooms multiple times to kind of learn them and learn where all the entrances and exits are, right? So that's actually a good point to bring up. Yeah, in the more modern games, and like Metroid Prime, for example, you get a very detailed map, a 3D one.
But you didn't always need a map to survive. The problem with Metroid 1, I think its biggest weakness was enemies looked alike and maps looked alike. So when you got lost, it wasn't because you didn't know the map. Right. It was because you didn't know where you were in the map because they'd all looked alike.
You basically see you're running around just trying to find a place that looks familiar as a local point. So absolutely. Metroid 2 was actually not an NES game. Rather, it was Game Boy games. This came out in 1991 in North America. This is an interesting one. It came out in North America before Japan.
That's a weird one.
By 2 months. Very interesting. So anyway, that's something I did not know about this game.
That's really weird.
Yeah. So Gunpei Yokoi is still on this as a producer, which is pretty damn cool because this game does feel very Gunpei Yokoi. And this is the one that introduced the different versions of the Metroid. So it's not just Metroid Mother Brain. No, it's Metroid Alpha, Gamma, Zeta, Omega. And I think Omega was the final boss. Maybe it was just called Omega. So interesting. The long-necked one, the Contra-looking one.
Yeah, it was called Omega Metroid. Yeah.
So this is also the one, and it said down here, it was the first to introduce the spider ball, but also the spring ball. That's the jumping ball that you could do.
The spring, no, not the spring ball. The corkscrew one, the one that like hurts things. So the screw attack.
Could the ball do that in Metroid 2 original?
I don't know. I don't know when they introduced it.
So it just shows, I'm just looking at Wikipedia. Maybe Wikipedia is wrong, but yeah, that's just what it's saying in here. So, but the one I distinctly remember is the spider ball. So just thinking like, oh, this is so sick. I could explore everywhere now. It was amazing. But that was definitely the one I used the most. So this is yet another one where, so you're marooned on a planet. You're trying to find your way off. I do recall the exploration in this one being very solid. I also recall a lot of references to, at least in the world overall, to the, what would you say, Kozo or Chozo?
Oh, all it does is allow you to jump as the ball.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So, but what are the alien species called that you're kind
Chozo.
Chozo. Okay, so this is the sort of progenitor alien race that was on all of these planets long before you were. Yeah. And you're basically utilizing their tech or making...
Well, you were raised by them.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Samus Aran was raised by them. They were the weird thing about them is they're not this like super ancient. They're a super ancient race in the sense that they've been around on the world a lot, and they spread out along the federated planets quite a lot. But they weren't like a super ancient race that died off a long time ago. They were slowly dying off, and what happened was they met. If I can remember, here's the deal: the story plot for the Metroid games is not the focal point. If I can remember correctly, they met the X-parasites, and the X parasites were sort of this like Zerg-like domination where they would suck people's energies out and stuff like that. And they were slowly dominating the galaxy. And so they created the Metroids to fight against the X parasite. The Metroids did a really good job.
Okay, yeah.
Too good of a job.
Yeah,
the problem is their weapon backfired on them.
Yeah.
And so the Metroids were destroying the Chozo civilization.
Yeah.
Mind you, this is during that period. So the Metroids basically destroyed the Chozo civilization as we know it. And later on, after they were all kind of destroyed and they were limited on certain planets, that's when the Chozo raised Samus Aran.
Have any of the games shown you like a living Chozo?
Oh, yeah. Dread.
Oh,
Dread's the first one to do it.
Fuck. Well, that's why I got to play it then.
There's 2 of them in there.
Oh, now I got to play it for sure.
Yeah.
That's on the Switch, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting it tonight.
It's so good.
Dude, I don't know why I haven't
played it
yet.
twice.
Damn.
I've beaten it
I
twice.
want to see a living Chozo.
They look awesome.
So I wonder if people, if you're watching this on YouTube, how excited I am to know that there's living Chozo in a Metroid game I haven't played. I'm ecstatic. This is great news.
All you need to know is the first one you meet
Yeah.
is named Ravenbeak.
Yeah. Oh, come on.
That's a cool fucking name.
Sweet. So how many Chozo have cradled my morph ball form in their hands as I get power-ups? They have no idea. I love them and they love me.
I just love the ones from Prime where it's like they boil you up and then they like throw you.
Oh, yeah.
They like bowl you.
They're like, here you go, bitch. We anticipated this. So we anticipated this thousands of years ago. So this very moment.
But so that was like, I think Return of Samus was interesting because it gave a lot of people handheld, and that was a big thing at the time. But I think that's a big problem with what I've had with a lot of the Metro games is handheld. I don't really like those games on handheld because everything's too small and the maps are too small. It just doesn't work out. That's why I never played most of them. Super Metroid, though, which was the king of Metroid.
Yes.
The Super Nintendo one.
So
that defined pretty much everything we know as like staples of Metroid nowadays.
Super Metroid, Super Castlevania also define that genre, the Metroidvania genre as well.
Because that's also when Symphony of the Night came out.
That's right. Well, Symphony of the Night was PS1.
What?
Yeah, Symphony of the Night.
Oh, I thought it was Super Nintendo.
Yeah, no, it was PS1, but that's like the sort of penultimate.
Oh, sorry. I always thought that was Super
Metroidvania.
I always thought that was Super Nintendo.
So no, no, it wasn't Super Nintendo.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But jumping into Super Metroid now. So for Super Metroid, this came out in 1994. This did redefine the genre. So to me, the biggest difference here, moving into Super Metroid, really any of the quote-unquote super games, is the Super Nintendo was quite advanced for its day. It was a great system.
Yeah.
Very, very overpowered compared to its competitors in market. And what it could do is it had it had a higher frame rate, but also just really fast, fluid, tight gameplay.
Yeah.
So that's really what I remember about that system when it comes to all of the major Nintendo franchises, just how tight each game was. Same with Super Metroid, getting to run around. It almost became like you could actually get very, very skilled at battling as Samus in Super Metroid, as opposed to the other games where it was heavily reliant on just sort of waiting for the right time to make a move.
Yes.
In Super Metroid, you could fully go on the offensive at any
You
given time.
were the power. Like you started off not the powerful one, but by the time the end, you felt
and
super
you feel
powerful.
very powered, like getting the Varia suit, all that stuff. It all feels very, very, very powered up.
Yeah, I think that was also where you got the gravity suit as well for the first time.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So just so many huge upgrades there. I wonder if Gunpei Yokoi, is he still around at this point?
No,
Maybe he wasn't.
he was not around.
Yeah. So I don't know if he was there to see the final product launch. I'm not 100% sure.
Actually, no. Apparently, Gunpei Yokoi was there.
Yeah.
They just mentioned he was a part of it.
Yeah. Okay, so he was out in he passed away in 1997, but a little bit young too. But anyway, yeah, the Super Metroid was honestly, I think, a watershed moment for that genre. And if this game hadn't gone as well as it did, then I think maybe the genre wouldn't have continued.
Yeah, what I find really weird is if you look at like between the first Metroid and the second Metroid, we're talking about 5 years between the first and the second, which is a long time for a game series.
Oh yeah,
that's a long time.
and a platform jump.
And a platform jump, yeah. And then not only that, but if you go between that and Super Nintendo, it's like another 3 years between Return of Samus and Super Metroid.
But only 3 years.
But only 3 years.
Yeah.
And again, another jump. Here's the deal. Return of Samus sold more than Super Metroid.
Yeah,
What the fuck?
interesting.
Super Metroid is way better.
The recent Return of Samus or Metroid 2 original?
No, the original.
Crazy.
The original sold 172 mil. And Super Metroid...
1.72 mil.
What did I say?
172 mil.
Oh, fuck no. 1.72 mil.
5%
1.72
of the
million
entire human population at that time.
bought the game.
1 in 20 people on planet Earth played Metroid 2.
We would not
on a Game Boy.
This world would be very different if that was the case.
Totally.
No, Super Metroid only sold.
We'd already be a Type 2 civilization. Like, it would have already happened for us.
Honestly, Metroid unlocked something in me. I would say Hollow Knight, because it should have been a Metroid game, but it was Hollow Knight.
Yeah.
Unlocked something within me that I didn't know I had.
Oh my God.
And now I can't release it. But Super Metroid sold 1.4 million instead of the 1.7 million.
Crazy.
It didn't sell as well, even though it's considered like the peak Metroid game.
You know, I wonder if at this time, if you were to look at sales figures for first-party Nintendo titles at that time, I wonder if the rental market was damaging game sales at that time. Because the rental market was massive at that time.
That's a good point.
There was probably like a 5 or 6 year period where my parents maybe only bought 5 or 6 games, and then the rest of everything.
Well, I wonder if like the sales to a Best Buy or something count as sales. I guess it would count as sales towards it.
Well,
yeah, but it would impact the total sales, because you and I wouldn't each have a copy. There'd be one copy that you and I technically shared.
Yeah, but if like 50 kids can play and beat the game off a single copy of Blockbuster, without their parents buying it, that might affect it. So I recall games that we had rented multiple times just so we could beat them thoroughly growing up. And so maybe we spent ultimately $18 on a game that would have otherwise been $50 over like a 3-week period because we kept renting it. You know what I mean?
I didn't do that until the PS2 and Xbox era.
Yeah. I don't even recall renting games on PS2. I'm sure I did. Yeah. I just don't recall. I just don't recall. But back then, dude, I rented a lot of cartridges. I do remember that.
That makes sense.
Interesting.
But so that's interesting. They only sold. So the first, I want to put this in perspective. The first Metroid sold 2.7 million.
Yep.
The rest of them are at half of that.
Now, I wonder, NES probably outsold the Super Nintendo as well. I don't have those numbers up in front of me, but I think NES was probably still the better selling system.
I would hope not.
Up until that point.
Super Nintendo, as far as I'm concerned, is probably one of the best consoles to ever exist.
Oh, 100%. And as far as the library goes, holy shit, bro. Like, just cut it out with the library. It
amazes me on how that didn't sell. That. How did Super Metroid not sell well? Now, I understand that because I didn't get it, which is... I really wish I got Super Metroid when I was a kid.
Yeah.
My life would be very different at this time. These games, I don't like... Normally when we're talking about
If you had gotten Metroid 2 as a kid, we'd be a Type 2 civilization.
Yeah, specifically me.
This is reality.
I'd be a director by now. But like...
A director of the Type 2 civilization.
A director of the Type 2 civilization, yeah. But like there's this level of... We're not talking about these games. A lot of times when we talk about these series, we judge the games, we review them poorly.
Yeah.
Or we give like, oh, these games are imperfect. I would look at these games and say the only thing that's imperfect about them was that they were clearly limited by the technology of their time.
Yeah.
Other than that, they did the best they could with the technology of the time, and they were always amazing every single generation they were out. And they got that much better every single time.
Dude, and this was a massive jump. So I'm just going over this. You had the grapple laser, so you could like swing around it through different environments. You also had wall jumping. You also had that cool fast running effect where it was like...
Oh, the speed boost with Shine Spark.
Yeah, and you could see like the Metroids running behind, the Samus is running behind her in fast motion or whatever. And then it also had the moonwalk ability where you could shoot and charge your weapon while you back up as well. So there was so much going for this game, dude.
Did they also, I think because of the wall jumping, that's when they added like the strong grip thing.
Yes, yeah, where you could like hang on the wall. Yeah. Dude, it's honestly such a great fucking game. And this game, I bet if I played it now, I would say it still holds up. And I'm sure it's actually on the Nintendo Switch at this point. If you have the virtual, what is it called? The virtual console thing?
I don't know if it is.
The Super Nintendo thing? I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure I've started a file on it.
Okay, I hope
so. It's so definitely go and play it if you have that. I think it's going to be worth your while.
It's the penultimate. I would say it is at this point the third best Metroid game, which is great to say that's its third best. There are 2 better than it.
So from there,
well, maybe it's hard to say. Maybe I'll say the second best, so I'm not pissing off everyone.
Now, from there, the Metroid series actually does kind of diverge into 2 separate sort of game styles.
Yes, but I want to make something very clear here. I think this has been part of why this game doesn't sell, why it hasn't built up as much of a following as it really should have by now. Remember I talked about 5 years between the first and the second Metroid?
Yes.
The Super Metroid to the next generation of Metroids, which came out at the same time, was, what's that? 6, 7, 8 years.
8 years, wow.
8 years between Metroids. There was a drought in the Metroid games.
Now, it's interesting that the diversion kind of happened here at the exact same time. So 2002, the Game Boy Advance is out, and it's a huge seller. It's selling very, very well. In fact, I think the Game Boy Advance SP was out by that time as well.
Yep.
And the Metroid Fusion was the handheld game. It was not just a version of Metroid Prime. It was its own thing.
It was its own thing.
It has its own suit.
It is Metroid 4.
Yes, basically. And then you have Metroid Prime, which is just a complete and utter divergence from the previous form. It's still a Metroidvania, right? It's still that style of game, but it's 3D in a full 3D environment, and it's gorgeous for its day.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic to play.
Did you beat this the first time through? Did you have a struggle with it?
I beat this so thoroughly multiple times.
But did you?
GameCube.
You didn't have a struggle with it when you first played it?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
See, this was my first entry,
Yeah.
and much like some of my most favorite games that I've played today, pretty much almost every game that I love today, I rage quit.
Oh, geez.
And then came back to them.
Okay.
Those are my favorite games. I don't know why.
Back to them as a more mature, prepared human being. Is that?
Yeah, pretty much.
I have to grow first. It's not you, it's me.
I just don't know why or what happened to it. I struggled with that game.
Yeah.
And I probably would have rage quit this time around too.
I would say I'm having a harder time playing it now than I did back then.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just like squinting at the screen. I'm like, where's the little door? Where's the little door I need to find? So I'm looking for the colored doors.
You're looking on that map.
Yeah, like, where's all the purple doors? Where are those at? Like, that's, and I'm just, anyway, I don't think I did that in my original playthrough. I just think I just went for it.
And you just ran wherever.
Yeah. Because it was just so much fun
Because
experiencing that world.
We had time.
Yeah.
Back then.
It was amazing. So, yeah, now there is no time. Plus, when you're playing other games, I don't want to really talk about what else I'm playing.
No.
A little bit, I wouldn't say ashamed, but something I did as an experiment, and I kind of got into it. It's a problem.
We'll have to talk about it during the POW later.
So, yeah, we'll do it in POW. So, listen in, people. If you want to know my dark, dirty secret, I'll reveal it in the POW. So, playing and or watching section of this episode.
But I think this was an interesting take because what ended up happening was we got, at this time, what was it, 2002?
2002.
We got Metroid Fusion.
Yep.
Which was the classic 2D Metroid game.
Yeah, that was the spiritual successor to Super Metroid. For sure.
Oh, yeah. Not just the spiritual. That was like the successor. And then Prime, which was sort of an offshoot by Retro Studios.
And Retro Studios. So they were doing a lot of great GameCube games back then. So actually, I'm kind of curious, what else had they done right around that time? Donkey Kong Country.
Well, that's the new one. Yeah, they were the creators of Donkey Kong and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So a lot of good games coming from them. So
Retro's big.
This was their
Banjo
first shooter,
Kazooie and stuff like that.
Yeah, this was their first shooter, though, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was an interesting time because what's weird is Metroid. I think this shows a lot. Is Metroid Fusion came out on Game Boy Advanced.
Yep,
and it sold 1 point something mil. What was it? Sorry, give me a second here. 1.3 mil, 1.4 mil.
Wild.
Whereas Prime sold 2.84 mil.
So Prime was the highest seller then of all time.
Yes. Until
Metroid.
Dread. Until Dread.
Wild. It was highly anticipated. So I remember like Nintendo, they used to do the Space World event and stuff like that. And I remember seeing the original pre-rendered videos for it and thinking like they couldn't possibly do this in a game. They couldn't possibly make it look this good. And then it was fucking that good when it came out. I remember the first time standing on the platform in space right when Metroid Prime starts, looking at Samus looking all metallic and then doing the morph ball and it looks all metallic and it rolls around all smoothly. I'm like, what the fuck? This is
what is going on?
Amazing.
So I loved I thought I was going to be annoyed by the visor look.
Yeah.
But I think it adds to the atmosphere. It creates a sense of, even in the old games, of claustrophobia.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like that because it really got you into her position.
Yep.
And not only that, but it creates the world gets you a sense of claustrophobia.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like, oh my God, I'm exploring this world from just this visor. And it really added to the feeling of the world.
Well, it also helped with the scale of some of the bosses too, because they did big, grandiose bosses for a lot of these, and looking at them from a first-person perspective definitely gave you that sense of grandioseness, right?
Yeah.
Like it was, grandiosity. Like it was definitely the right way to do it. So,
yeah.
But obviously, a lot of players were skeptical going into
this game was a controversy when it came out because like that's breaking. You can't make a Metroid. Like, okay, the 5 of you that bought this game for 100 and something million before, shut up.
Yeah,
because they clearly didn't like. It was clearly a cult at that point. It was a cult classic at that point.
And it had been a long time. So at that point, you're right. It was cult status by the time you hit 2002 because it had been 8 years since one came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, there wasn't like a lot of newer players who were like, oh yeah, like this makes sense. No, most of the original players were not about it. But we came around. We came around because this game was absolutely gorgeous for its day.
I think what it did well is it kept to one of the main tiers, one of the main fundamental things that is Metroid, which is it's about exploration first, combat second.
Yeah, true. This is heavy on the exploration. So it was saying Prime is one of the first Metro games to address the reason Samus does not start with power-ups because of the explosion on the ship before she goes down.
Which is a hilarious reason, but sure, why not?
Why not? Why not? But you do really start off with like more powers and you have to gain them back as you go through the game.
Yeah.
Plus, this one had different beams in it, like all the different beams. You had the ice beam, the fire
You had that
beam.
before.
Yeah, well, but I guess you had some of them.
You had the plasma beam, you had the wave beam, you had the multi-shot beam.
Yeah.
That all existed.
But I love the effect that it has on enemies, though. Like the ice shot will actually freeze a lot of enemies if you charge it up, and you can just kind of shatter them. That's cool as hell.
That was different. And then each missile had its own upgrade with it.
Yeah.
So you'd have like the plasma, the flamethrower rocket.
Yep.
You'd have like the electricity thing.
Yeah. And
I
some
like
of those
that.
are necessary to solve puzzles, too, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So definitely an integration of systems like we've never seen before in the Metroid franchise, and sort of the environmental puzzles became bigger and bigger in Prime as well as a result.
I think one thing that Metroid Prime did really well is the problem with the Super Metroids and all the Metroids prior, I don't know about Fusion, and I'm leading Fusion out because they kind of came out at the same time, so it's hard to talk about the history at the same time as those. They clearly didn't inspire each other. You would have to there was no, I don't know how to word it. You just have to missile every single wall segment.
Yeah.
Because you had no idea where the future was. Even prior to Super Metroid, even in Metroid 1 and 2, the way you had to go to get to the next boss or to continue the game was through a wall. You could never tell. You just had to shoot every wall.
Right.
Like that was, you had to randomly shoot walls.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime, you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
All of the puzzles are they're more puzzles than they are hidden.
Yeah.
So you'd look at it and go, okay, I know that you'd see the glint or you'd hear the sound.
Yeah.
Of, there's a secret around here. And your job was to go, okay, where's the secret?
That's true. It did a pretty good job of using directional audio to kind of get your attention onto that stuff too. Because playing obviously the remastered version now, finding all the missile upgrades and health the energy upgrades and everything is pretty easy because of that. So,
but it's just really nice because you would look at a wall and you go, well, that's a puzzle. Now I just have to solve the puzzle. So it's not a hidden thing where you're searching for stuff.
Yeah.
You find the room.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, what's the puzzle in here?
And then if you hit an area where you can't progress, you can typically tell why. So if it's like a white door and I can't progress, I need the ice beam. If it's like, the little track thing that goes up along the wall, it must be spider ball, right? Like you can kind of tell based on what you're looking at.
It's a half pipe.
Yeah, you see hooks hanging from the ceiling, but I don't have a grapple hook yet. Okay, well, there you go. So make it really simple for you.
Yeah.
So, and then you just backtrack and go and find the place. And for the most part, that's pretty easy.
And there was, even among Metroid standards, I feel like Metroid Prime had more backtracking than any other Metroid game.
Totally, yeah. And I think that is maybe part of the reason why. Now, the environments that it has are super detailed, and there are some larger environments in it, but there's not a ton of environments, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a fairly streamlined game in that regard. So I think just by nature of they can only make the game so big because of the detail in it, that's why they have you going back
and at the time, making those resources, not just using them up on the console, but making the actual environments was a lot of energy and a lot of cost.
They did a good job mixing it up, though, in Prime, because I'm going back through certain areas now. Now there's like harder enemies that I have to fight. What was previously a boss is now just like a regular enemy sitting in an area that I could kill if I wanted to, or I could just kind of skip him and move on with my life.
Yeah.
So, which is one criticism I would have of the remastered version we'll get to later.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about, I think right now we're reviewing the series as a whole.
Oh, yeah.
During our POW, we'll deep dive about remastered.
For sure.
I think that's important.
So I did like the world they introduced in this, though, Talon 4. I liked that it was very succinct with the environments in it. There's the lava environment. There's the snow environment. There's the ancient ruins environment, right? Like, I like how succinct it is with those environments. And then there's also like the pirate ship environment as well. So
the broken pirate ship.
Yeah, and then you have to use the thermal visor to be able to see everything.
Yeah, the thermal visor. We're going to talk about that later.
Oh shit! Well, hey, on the GameCube it was sick.
On the GameCube it was sick. Yeah, on the GameCube it was awesome.
Yeah, so definitely something that's maybe been overplayed in the last 20 years. Who knows? 20 years.
Yeah.
21 years ago. fuck.
Yeah, that's how long these games are. Like it's just weird. And then Fusion was also weird because they made I think we'll go on to Fusion, where Fusion they made Samus light.
Yeah.
They got rid of her big bulky Varia suit.
Yep.
And they gave her the Fusion suit, which was more quicker. It was just a quicker game in general.
Yeah, it felt very fast.
And the character was quicker, and they gave her the ability to hang, and they're like, oh, she doesn't need to use the grapple hand to hang anymore.
Yeah.
Because she's lighter now, and that was the excuse they gave.
I would say that overall, like Metroid Prime would be the less skilled game to play. So
for sure.
Yeah, because you did, like with the platforming and the sort of weaponry that you get in Fusion versus this, I think that Fusion was definitely the more sort of skilled player kind of game.
Yeah.
So if you're only a fan of the classic, that's a great way to go. So Game Boy Advance was a solid little console.
Oddly enough, at the time, because of the Fusion suit and the making it lighter, people were not happy with it. It also was controversial.
Damn, man.
Which is just dumb.
You can't make them happy.
No.
You can't do it.
Because some of the things they created in Fusion have now carried over very successfully. And you can see them in things like Dread. So, and I think that makes the game better. I think it was just ahead of its time with the whole fast combat. Because even Super Metroid was, you had like the directional aiming, but it was still kind of slow and clunky. Fusion was more smooth.
Right.
And you can tell they were going in that direction, and you can almost tell that's kind of what they wanted from the series the whole time. They just, again, tech always limited them.
I'm always curious, too, if maybe because those came out at the same year, almost the same time, too, same selling season anyway, if they were just trying to make a determination of, like, which direction should this series go? Because what we end up finding out then is it definitely keeps in the direction of Metroid Prime for a while. So you get Metroid Prime, Metroid Zero Mission comes out.
Which is a remake of number 1 on the Advanced.
That's right. Yep. And then you also get Metroid Prime 2 Echoes.
Which I've heard that's considered really good game, but also I've heard that 2 and 3 are considered really bad games and they ruined the series.
I played both of them when they came out and they were both great games.
See, I don't know why, but I never played them.
Yeah.
I played number 2 and I fucking hated it. I never played 3 because who the fuck plays on the Wii?
I did. I played on the Wii.
I could not do the gaming thing on the Wii. That was so
I remember not loving that so much, but I remember playing the game.
That's the only reason I never played it. I remember not liking it. I remember a lot of people complaining about it in general.
No, maybe I played the trilogy version of 3 because I thought I remember playing it with more traditional controls and like a pro controller or something like that. Corruption was 3,
and it was on 3. It was on the Wii.
That was on it, but that was on the trilogy 2 years later. So because they had made HD versions of
1 and
Metroid
2,
Prime and 2
and gave it the mechanics of 3.
Right, but I'm pretty sure I played it with a classic controller at that time. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So anyway, but you see the whole time period there. So you have Metroid Prime 2 Echoes in 2004, released concurrently with Zero Missions. They were still doing a side scroller. Then they went straight Prime from there out. So then you get Metroid Prime Pinball, then you get Metroid Prime Hunters, then you get Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, then you get Metroid Prime Trilogy. So you had basically a 2004, 2009, that 5-year period there where everything was under the Prime banner.
I want you to think about it. It's 2002 all the way. We don't get 2002 was the last traditional Metroid game.
Yeah.
The rest was all retro company
remakes,
remakes and the first person shooter.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because remember, we look at the sales. Prime sold more than double what all the other ones did.
Oh yeah, it would make sense to leverage the franchise on that.
Yeah, so obviously they looked at that and went, okay, we're going in that direction.
Yeah, but then you get pinball, baby. That's the next logical step.
Yeah, I never played that one.
What was that even on?
Game Boy, I'm guessing.
That would have been. Does it say here?
Rumble Pack.
Nintendo DS, baby.
Yep.
So these are Chozo pinball machines. You might not know about those.
Oh,
so very ancient pinball machines.
Very ancient tech.
Yeah, very ancient tech. You know, they don't break down, so it doesn't happen. So, but they also don't give you extra lives.
I mean, it's funny that they had that because they also had, I remember Pokemon pinball.
I love
back
that
in the day.
the cover for this is just Samus, luring leering menacingly over a pinball machine.
She's the pinball wizard. There has to be a trick. The pinball's wizard got such a supple gun.
The pinball, that's a beautiful song, by the way. But obviously, the pinball is Samus in ball form.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that's the only way you can do it. Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
I think it might be a little bit too late to be adding this, but hilariously enough, Samus got the Guinness Book of World Records for being the first playable female.
Oh, Oh,
but
yeah,
it's
that's
not true.
Interesting. Interesting.
It's actually not true.
Who was the first playable female?
The first playable female, I see if I can find it here somewhere. It was from a game called
PC or Apple II game or something.
Yeah, it was from a game called like Kiss.
Hubert was female.
It was a game called Kiss or something like that.
Really?
Kissy. So it got.
Of course, the first playable female in the game is something like kissing.
Well, okay. First of all, it was a character named Kissy.
Yeah.
So it got the first playable human female character in a mainstream video game. I see. They said mainstream video game. That was their.
Oh, gotcha.
That was their gotcha.
Yeah.
Because Toby Masio Kissy from Namco's Alien Sector.
Yeah.
Actually got.
This sounds
that
just
role,
like how
but
Jennifer
okay.
Lawrence was the first female action star back when she did Hunger Games.
Sure. Yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I don't get me wrong. I want to give Samus all the awards I want to give her. But this is not one I can legitimately give her. But it was, I think that was a very interesting reveal. We didn't mention it in the first match. When we talked about the first Metroid, this sudden reveal of like, holy shit, it's a chick at the end.
They actually did a good job with Samus for a long time. They didn't like wildly over-sexualize Samus until Zero Suit Samus. So they actually went for quite a long time.
Here's the deals. I don't think they over-sexualized her. I think we over-sexualized her. Because Zero Suit Samus has more clothing on than her first appearance.
Yeah, but it's like painted on.
It doesn't
That's the idea.
In the first one or Zero Suit?
All Zero Suit Samus. All Zero Suit Samus.
The first one was a bikini, dude. Seriously. The end screen, if you got the...
You beat the game, here's Samus in a bikini, baby.
Yes. In the first Metroid, if you beat it, it was a bikini. I think also in the second one as well.
So...
And even in Super Metroid, it was a onesie.
Do you think there was anybody who took the challenge back then?
Oh, for sure.
Are you?
And then they gave off a good wank, a quick 8-bit wank. Yeah, sure, why not? Listen, these were a bunch of little boys on the internet.
We should hashtag that. That should be a thing. That should be like the 8-bit Samus challenge.
How do you think speedruns got started? I mean, it is true. Metroid did spawn a lot of.
Got to end with a wank. Sorry, folks.
all speed run from start of game to wank. No, seriously, but Metroid did start a lot of speed runs.
Yeah. So wild though. Wild because they went. So for the 2010, they had Metroid Other M.
We don't talk about Other M.
We don't. Why?
It's a terrible game.
Really?
Yeah.
I gotta look it up.
It was an awful game. So here's the most important funny thing about this.
It was a 3D one.
Yes. Here's the funny thing about it. Look up the developers.
Team Ninja. Oh, okay. So we're going full Ryu Hayabusa on this thing. We're going full DOA on this one.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, I mean, if there was any studio that was going to over-sexualize her, it would have been this. But
they didn't over-sexualize her. No, you're right. They gave her a more tough-looking thing, but it was just a bad game. Here's the deal: it wasn't like you could see her in the artwork. She's got short hair.
Yeah.
She eventually ties.
Is that
up.
her?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm assuming that's supposed to be her. I never played it because it's
a fairly generic character there.
I was scared away from this game. I didn't really play the Wii or Wii U games very much.
Yeah.
So I didn't really play this one.
Interesting. I forgot all about this game that Team Ninja actually did this.
Yeah. If
they came out with like an updated version of this, I'd probably get it and play it. Just I'm very curious.
God.
But it's 3D in the sense that it's not first person though, right?
No.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It's like third person 3D.
Yeah.
But it's like 2.5D.
Oh,
kind of, and you can rotate around, so it's 3D, but it's kind of sucks at it.
So it looks like it's platform jumping, puzzle solving, getting new weapons, all that good stuff. So I think the sort of core is there, but yeah, I could see where this could have gone pretty wrong.
Yeah, people were not
pretty wrong based on that.
But
yeah,
if you considered how people were not too thrilled with Metroid Prime 2 and 3, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
I mean, they sold.
Metroid Prime 2 came out to some fanfare. I recall people being pretty pleased with that. And then I was actually working in the G-Stop Lounge by the time Metroid Prime 3 came out, so I recall that as well. But no, it definitely didn't sell.
Yeah, but you have to look at if you look at Metroid Prime 1 selling 2.8, usually sales go up when things go successfully. They went down to 1.1 mil.
They really milked it.
And then Prime was 1.3 mil.
Yeah, they really milked it.
Yeah, so I don't think it sold that well. I don't think it did that well. I don't think they got as good a reviews as they'd like. And then you
so
go.
So then, how do you save it? How do you save it? What do? You make Metroid Prime : Federation Force. That's what you do. And this is definitely a game marketed toward children.
Oh yeah,
they definitely wanted to sort of cash in on
So As far as I can
toys
tell,
and Saturday morning cartoons.
nobody liked this, but as far as I can tell, they made a game and they went, how do we sell this game? Let's slap the Metroid name on there.
Boom. There you go.
That's what they did.
Yeah, that's 100%.
And then they put in some character. They put Samus in there just to make people happy. And
EGM roasted the fuck out of this game. 3.5 out of 10.
I think it was their first game. Well, no, M was the first roasted game. M was the first game in the Metroid.
This was 2016?
Yeah.
Good Lord. I don't even remember this.
No one does because it's terrible.
EGM was around in 2016?
Remember, this is 24 years of gaming. They've had 2 bad games.
Yeah. Honestly, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. How many titles total is that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 in total,
And
including up to today.
A couple genuinely bad ones. So that's not bad.
But here's the problem. Most of them are remakes.
Yeah, Samus Returns came out in 2017, and that was the next one.
Yeah.
Came out to some fanfare. I think it did well in reviews, too, at the time. Yeah, 8s, 8.5s, 9s, even 9.5s in there.
Samus Returns paved the way for Samus Dread to come out.
Yeah, totally.
It defined Samus Dread. They had ideas for Samus Dread. They had ideas for Metroid Dread.
Yeah.
But it was kind of just floating in. We don't know what to do with this. And then Samus Returns came out, and they went that.
Yeah.
But on Switch.
yeah, because 3DS was, it was a good system, somewhat underpowered for trying to do this, though, I think.
Yeah, it was.
As well as it could be.
So, like, we have a really bad time. Like, it was doing really well to its beginning. Came out with Prime, really hit the ground
Actually
running.
won the best handheld game at the Game Awards that year, the VGAs.
Yeah, it did really well.
Interesting.
Metroid Prime came out. Metroid Fusion kind of kept the 2D going, but pissed a lot of the classic players off.
Yeah.
But Prime, they brought in a lot of new players, like myself.
Yeah,
is a good example. That's when I got into it. And then they just kept kind of rehashing the same thing over and over and over again.
Now, Metroid Dread is one that I've shamefully missed the boat on here. So this is a Nintendo Switch title. I have not played it. Also came out to great reviews, it looks like.
Yeah.
Sales-wise, how did it do?
I don't know yet.
Not great.
Oh, we do know this one. So Metroid Dread is the highest selling Metroid game right now.
Oh, 2.9.
2.9.
Okay, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, good.
So it did sell more than Prime. But remember, Prime sold 2.8.
Yeah.
Dread on the Switch, which is the most ubiquitous console of all time.
Yeah, pretty much at this point.
At this point, it is the most played, most owned console of all time.
Yeah, it's beat PS2, yeah.
It's beat everything. And yet it still only sold 2.9 mil.
True, yeah. How many Switches are out there? Like 60 million units or something?
Something like
crazy
that.
like that?
Considering, but here's the deal. You look at something like Super Smash Bros. Do you know what the sales are for Super Smash Bros?
No.
30 mil.
That
34 mil.
So one in two Switch owners owns that game.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But you look at something like Mario Odyssey, which
Yeah.
is at like 2.9 mil.
Crazy. Mario Odyssey only sold 2.9 mil?
Yeah.
That's shocking. That's actually a really good game.
It is. But you have to realize like, this is what's wrong with these, with why Metroid is not getting the love it deserves. Because if you compare it to games like Animal Crossing,
Okay.
New Horizons, 3.9 mil.
Yeah.
Which is the most selling Switch game, I think, of all time.
Wait.
Second.
No, 3.9 wouldn't be one of the
39.
highest.
Sorry, 39.
39 million copies.
39 million
of that?
copies.
Holy
Sorry.
shitballs, bro.
Have I been saying 3.9, 3.8?
No, you said 3.9 for Animal Crossing only.
Yeah, so 39 for Animal Crossing.
Wait, how many did Mario sell then? You said 2.9.
So 29.
29 million. That makes more sense. That's why I was shocked.
So Super Smash Bros. Ultimate sold 30 million.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was 29.
Makes sense.
Sorry, Pokemon Sword and Shield were 25.
Okay, makes sense.
Super Mario Odyssey was 25.
Wow.
So you compare those numbers to Metroid. It's best
2.9.
Metroid, 2.9.
Wow.
It's nothing. It's nothing, and that's the problem.
But it seems like there's such an appetite for the fourth Prime game.
Doesn't it? I think that's what's so strange to me is I remember, and maybe this is just the echo chamber of the internet. I remember when Dread was coming out, I was getting inundated. IGN, Kotaku, all these news sites, all these Twitters, everyone talking about a new Dread in over 8 years.
Wow.
And this is how it sold. No wonder why they don't make very many of these.
Yeah, you can't blame them, really.
I feel bad because any new game they come out is usually really good.
So it's wild. And now we got, so this brings us all the way up to the present. Now we're on the Metroid Prime remaster.
Well, hold on. I got to talk about Dread for a little longer.
Okay, do it.
So Dread is the best Metroid game.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you right now, don't go play the old ones. Go play Dread.
Shit.
It is a near perfect game.
Wow.
There are imperfections, but it's a near perfect Metroidvania.
Wow.
It is what
Can't believe I've missed this.
I
What am I doing with my life?
I don't know. There are two Metroidvanias that define the genre at this point.
Yeah.
Hollow Knight and Dread. Everything else is subpar.
It's a bold statement. Cotton.
You got, I would argue you got Hollow Knight at the top.
Yep.
Then Dread. Then Symphony of the Night.
Wow.
Then fucking anything else that doesn't matter after that.
Wow.
They're so far below the bar.
Symphony of the Night is pretty fucking good, man.
It is.
Yeah. And it holds up.
These are better.
Wow.
So Hollow Knight I think is what brought Metroid back. Here's the weird thing is I think Hollow Knight brought Metroid back to us.
Okay, fair enough.
Because Hollow Knight, when it came out, sold more than any other Metroid game.
Yep.
At 3 point something.
And across like all the platforms too.
Yeah. The problem is I think Metroid would sell better if it was on Steam.
Sure. Oh, totally. Totally it would. Yeah.
I think that's the problem with it is it's too limited.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're correct. Nintendo systems maybe are not the ultimate place for a game like this. Maybe Nintendo's missing out on 10 million sales of this piece of software because they refuse to put it on Steam.
I think what they should at least do is maybe do kind of thing that Sony does, wait a year or two, which it's almost been a year at this point. I think it's been a year. Go put it on Steam now. No one else is buying it. You're not getting any new sales.
Dude,
doesn't even have to be on sale.
Good. Like I'm gonna have to get this.
It is. It's so good. But there's a lot of features from it that come from the old games. So they really took what was best of the Metroid series, and I think this is important because we're talking about what defines the Metroid series. It took the exploration and getting lost and exploring, but never getting too lost that you're frustrated from Prime and the first few Metroid games.
Yeah.
And Super Metroid. It obviously got the Shine Spark. It's got the Spider Ball.
Yep.
It's no, it doesn't actually have the Spider Ball. It doesn't have the Spider Ball.
Dread doesn't?
Nope.
Oh.
It's got a new like grapple walking thing.
Oh, okay, cool.
It plays
Even
out
cooler.
fine. Even cooler. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But it's got all of that, and it's also got like the melee stuff from Samus Returns that they added in Samus Returns because they didn't know how to handle the Metroid series until Samus Returns came out, and Returns revamped the whole system to add melee to it as like a counter and stuff, and they went, great, this is what we need to revamp it.
This is interesting. So also the producer on Metroid Dread was the original character designer for Metroid way back in the days. Yoshio Sakamoto.
That makes sense because
Interesting.
Samus looks amazing.
Okay.
And I don't mean like in a sexy way. I mean
like in a badass way.
In a badass way. They have great posing. There's a lot of like really cool positioning and animation. Where her armor, because she's not using like the old school Varia suit.
Yeah.
Her armor's thinner and sleeker as inspired by Fusion. So she acts a lot quicker and because of it's beautiful posing.
Yeah.
There's beautiful like poses where she's, hunched down on the ground with her gun doing that, and it's just beautiful.
Interesting. So also the last game he worked on, he's still around, but maybe that was his swan song. Maybe that was it.
It's a worthy swan song. I wish it sold more.
Wild. Yes, that came out October 8th, 2021. So in the very midst of the great pandemic.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not why I missed it. I'm just kind of the timeline for it, I guess. But yeah, it looks cool as hell, man. I gotta play this. This is one I completely missed out on then. Huh.
Yeah.
Wild. So yeah, then we get to the remaster. So which we could cover even more in depth in our playing and watching section. So I guess the question then is, does the series hold up?
I'm gonna ask you that because I already know my answer. It's pretty fucking obvious.
What do you mean?
Okay, so I think the only thing that's holding this series back is that for whatever reason it doesn't sell, and I don't know why. I get it. Metroidvanias in general don't sell all that well. They just don't. Hollow Knight, which is the best Metroidvania, only sold 3 point something mil
across all platforms.
All platforms. Yeah, now I grant it doesn't get the same marketing because it's an indie.
Yeah,
I grant that, but you'd think that a game on the Switch.
What about Shovel Knight? Look up
Shovel Knight isn't a Metroidvania, I don't think.
Ish, I feel like
it's more of a platformer. It's more like a Super Mario World. I don't think it's because you don't backtrack.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, that like based on the sales and kind of the popularity of it, that wouldn't really be my argument against continuing it if that was my opinion at all. But that is not my opinion. I would say this franchise still has a lot of legs, and I think that Metroid Prime Remastered definitely shows that. In fact, I think the reason why they did Prime Remastered right now, I think they're genuinely testing the water to see the popularity, to see if they really are intent on going all in on a Metroid Prime 4. So I think that's a very expensive value proposition for them, and they're trying to figure it out, because we already know they had one that they were working on with Retro Studios that was scrapped.
No. So let's put
Retro is Retro the new one?
Let's put on our tinfoil hats for a second.
Okay,
here.
it's on.
Okay.
Can you see it?
The crazy story is Bandai Namco was creating Metroid Prime 4.
Okay.
First of all, it shouldn't be called Metroid Prime 4, because when you have numbers like that, you alienate a lot of players who think, oh, I have to go play 1, 2, and 3.
True. Yes.
And
It's
here's
a
the
good
deal.
observation.
The actual story plot of 1, 2, and 3 is done. It's
That's correct.
It's a trilogy.
Yeah.
It completed a story arc. Just call the new one Metroid Prime subtitled something.
Yeah.
Right? And it can be its own trilogy.
Doesn't have to be Prime. It
Doesn't have to be
called
Prime.
Metroid another thing.
Metroid subtitled another title.
Yeah.
And it can be its own trilogy. You don't, you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be tied to the original. You call it Metroid Prime so that we
Metroid
know.
Detective Club.
Sure.
So
Detective Pikachu?
Yeah, Metroid Professor. So yeah. So I'm thinking of all the other popular things Nintendo has done.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, you could call it Metroid Prime. This way we all know it's going to be first person. We know the mechanics of it, but then call it something else.
Sure.
I totally get that.
Metroid Odyssey.
Sure.
I just fixed it.
Fixed it.
Yeah.
So they shouldn't do that. But here's the deal: is it was being made by Bandai Namco.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we knew that Retro was making the remaster.
Yep.
So we suspect there's a lot of leaked information that's adding a picture, putting together a picture.
Okay.
Which is Retro was originally contracted to do 1, 2, and 3 remakes. Okay. Bandai Namco was set up to do number 4.
Okay.
So the idea was they would have number 1 come out.
Yeah.
Inspire courage, and then remind people of Prime on a cheap dime, and then 4 would come out.
So your theory is they're going to come out with the 2 and 3 remaster
No.
before?
No. Because what happened was
why would they?
Bandai Namco fucked up.
Oh.
And they basically got fired. And that was the Nintendo Direct where we found out, where they said, we're starting all over.
Yeah, we're going back to the drawing board, yeah.
That was originally Bandai Namco. They pulled it from Bandai Namco. We know that.
Yep.
They gave that game to Retro. So what's happened is Prime has been sitting on the shelves, Prime Remaster, Prime 1 Remaster, has been sitting on the shelves, done for a while now by Retro.
Okay, yeah.
And we know that. There's been leaks. We knew that a long time ago. And we're all like, okay, what are they waiting for? What are they waiting for? We thought they were waiting for Prime 4, but then they canceled Prime 4 and everyone, oh, fuck. So what they're doing is instead of doing 2 and 3, they're getting Retro to do 4. And now that they've released 1, we're going to get an announcement of 4 very soon.
Interesting. Yeah. So it's still under TBA. Interestingly, the producer, and this is somebody who's been on the series for a long time, is either additional support or a producer, which is Kensuke Tanabe. So we'll see how well he's able to pull this off. So it's the original teams, though. It's Retro and Tanabe, and yeah, this is very interesting.
I highly suspect, kind of like Simo, they were expecting to put out Dread and Prime 4 in a similar timeline. But obviously that screwed up the timeline. So now they've got remastered. It's a little delayed because they delayed it so that they can kind of keep hype going for Metroid for Prime 4.
Yeah. My only hope is hopefully they're making more living Chozos. That's my only ask. I got to see more Chozo.
I don't think we're in doubt. There's some games where they're like, well, do you think it should stay alive? Do you think it has more to talk about? I think we've got a lot from
we've
this
only
game.
scratched the surface with Metroid. There's so much Metroid hasn't done yet. So it's a game that takes place primarily on these alien worlds, right? Yet there hasn't been like a survival version of it. There hasn't been like any space, flight battles or anything. You know what I mean? Like you could be getting into like, traversing from planet to planet even. You know what I mean? There's so much this game could do or could be, especially in the recent past. So we've had games like No Man's Sky, right?
Yeah,
where it's almost like in many ways that takes from the Metroid franchise was sort of the ancient races and
the exploration.
And the exploration, yeah. So and murdering the local wildlife.
I could totally see a Metroid like Elden Ring style.
Oh god.
No, it'd be more like a Sonic, the Sonic Frontier style.
Okay. Yeah.
Where there are clearly puzzles in the world meant to be used with certain abilities that maybe you don't have yet, and you have to come back to that part of the world. So a bit more. Actually, you'd be more closer to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I agree. I think it would be
Breath
a lot
of the
more
Wild.
Breath
We're
of
like,
the Wild.
oh, you don't have the magnet thing? Well, you can't do the shrine yet.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? I could totally see that. There's a lot this game has to offer. And I think through the Metroid Prime being so famous and through the Dread doing so well, that this game can evolve.
That's right.
It's not like Pokemon where it's stagnant. It's still evolving and growing.
Yeah.
And its growth is not slow. And not only that, it's good evolution.
Yeah.
It's positive every single time it comes out.
What's interesting about like Pokemon in the JRPG format is it's a format that's really had to embrace its roots to continue to move forward. So like, you know, with your Octopath Traveler and then the one that you were playing, you're recommending for a long, what was the last one you played? The big RPG on the Switch?
Oh, Chained Echoes.
Yeah, so that was another one that you were recommending as well. So it's like our JRPGs have gotten great again because they've gone back to their roots in many ways, right? Whereas a series like this, though, there's so many ways for it to move forward. Hopefully, this is where Nintendo's at. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Please.
Yeah.
So kind of
we want more.
It.
The people who like this are hungry and we will always buy one.
Yeah.
You have some duds. We accept that. But in the grand scheme of the timeline of Metroid, statistically speaking, it's been pretty damn good.
I'll keep giving them money. So anyway, we're saying this one, even though, you know, it's tough waiting for 4 and kind of seeing what that's going to be about. We think it should stick around.
There's a lot of timeline between them.
Yeah.
All the time. So by the time you get there, you're always really hungry for it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of evolution. I even though it doesn't sell it well, I think it needs to do more, and I think we need to get more people into this.
Yeah,
because I want more.
Totally. Awesome. So we're on the same page about that. What do you say we get into some playing and or watching?
Pow!
So playing and or watching is a great segment. So we're going to cover some things we've been playing and or watching, maybe a little bit of both. So the first thing we should probably cover is Metroid Prime Remastered.
Yeah, we should talk about that. I know it kind of fits in the other category, but also fits here because there's a whole series review. Now let's talk about just this game.
It bridges the gap. It bridges the gap from topical thing to playing and or watching.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, it does. I think it's also probably what inspired this episode because we're like, fuck yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, dude, when it dropped, it was such a surprise. It was a wonderful surprise. I bought it immediately. I wanted my Switch. I'm like, bye. So I didn't even check to see if there's going to be a physical copy, which is why it's in the news again. So we were just talking about this before recording.
I was laughing because when I found out about it, I'm like, Metroid Prime Remaster. I'm like, oh, when did that come out? I don't remember that coming out. Yeah. And then I looked at it like, it's out now. I'm like, wait, it just came. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it was one of those. Nintendo's like, it's on the store, bitches. Go buy it. So it was one of those, right? It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So
it was another mic drop moment.
And I started playing it immediately as soon as it downloaded. And I was very, very pleased to see it really is a remaster in every sense of the word. I think they did a good enough job with the controls, translating them over from the GameCube.
Yep.
I think they did a good enough job updating the graphics to HD and making things just look better.
I think that was one of the best things that they've done because this is all about the world. Right. So a beautiful, understandable world is the most important part.
That's right. And some of the things you see right away if you played the original one, I remember looking at the gun for the first time on the remastered version and just seeing like the coloration and the electric things that are happening on the gun looks so much better on the Switch than it did on the original game where they look kind of flat underneath.
They also added like water droplets when your environment onto the gun, and when the gun lift up, it would fall down the gun.
Yep. And then also like does your visor fog up and stuff too?
That was from the original.
Oh, was it?
I mean, don't get me wrong, they improved it, made it look better, but that's
crazy.
they did that in the original.
Yeah. Or like when you first step into the ice, like ice area, like it freezes up a little bit around
freezes
the edges
up,
of the
and
visor.
then the best one was when you did like a missile launch, and this happened in the GameCube one. You'd see Samus's eyes in the reflection.
Yes, that was in the GameCube one.
Yeah,
was it really?
Yeah, it was.
Such a cool effect, dude. That's so cool. So I do love that. So anyway, it's a gorgeous looking game. It plays very well. It's silky smooth. Silky smooth. I have not run into any hiccup whatsoever in this game.
I would consider it it's hilarious that it's how many years later? How many years did we say later?
21.
10? No, since the original Metroid Prime?
21.
2000. Holy shit, that was 2002. Yeah, you're right. 21 years. It holds obviously it needed the graphics boost and controls change.
Yeah.
But with just those two changes, you've held up this game.
Yeah.
This game makes for a new age.
It's still very solid.
It's still very solid. I do have to complain a bit.
I have some criticisms too.
I definitely have some criticisms.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of, I think what's upset me most about this game is I watch a lot of reviews on it that I'm hearing other people talk about. And everyone is just jerking it off. Just, oh, fuck yeah. Just, the best thing. Like, this is the best game ever.
I think it's a lot of gamers who weren't born 21 years ago.
Maybe. Okay. I don't know. A lot of the guys I watch are usually my age because they're like me, right?
Yeah.
You watch reviewers who review games the same way you think. But they're just jerking off and like sucking on the balls of this game. It's the best game ever. Like, no, it's fucking not. First of all, why the hell do I have to keep changing guns? to get through every single colored door.
You're right. Yeah.
Once I have that gun and I shoot it once with that gun color,
yeah.
I should never have to shoot it with that gun again. I should just be able to use whatever gun type I have.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever's equipped.
Yeah.
Because they did that in Dread.
Yep.
Where they have these like covers on the door, and once you blow up the
cover,
then you could just use your regular pea shooter.
That makes sense. So
having to switch your guns constantly was annoying because you'd be in, say, something like the frost area, which you're not going to use the frost gun.
It's weird because the guns are all set to directions on the D-pad, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? So maybe why not just hold a direction and shoot versus having to switch the gun completely?
I still don't want to do it because I don't want to take my foot off, my left thumb off the running.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Right?
Or the
left was the running, right's the aiming. I just don't want, I'm running, shooting the door while I'm going through it because you can do so much backtracking, right? I don't want to sit there and switch my gun. Usually what I'll do is I'll jump because I don't want to stop motion.
Yeah.
I've learned to, and I remember doing this on the GameCube as well. I would jump so my motion doesn't stop.
Right.
Switch the gun because my left finger can come off the joystick pushing me forward. Switch to the thing and then land and shoot. And then jump again to switch my gun again and go through the door. Yeah. That's how I did it. Why? I get it. You're remaking an old game.
Yeah.
But you can't sit here and say it's a perfect game of 2023.
Oh, no. No, it's definitely not perfect, but it appears to be getting some perfect ratings.
Yeah.
So weirdly, Electronic Gaming Monthly is still around in 2023. You gave it a 10 out of 10. So that's interesting.
There's a lot of these. It's a great game. My wife who watched it with me, we were going to talk about it in a Digital Love. She said it was boring. She couldn't sit there and watch me play through it. She's like, this is a boring game to watch.
Oh, wait. Why am I looking at the remaster? Or I was looking at the standard Metroid Prime. Oh, it takes you to the standard Metroid Prime.
Oh, because it's probably its own thing.
Oh, okay. So this is showing me the old review scores.
That makes sense.
Review scores, yeah. Okay.
Oh, there you go. There's your own section there.
There it is.
But I don't think it's a perfect game, especially nowadays. I think it's a great game, and it's a great game to show why Metroid is so important.
Yeah.
But I do think it's imperfect in the sense that they really needed to make the save rooms teleportable. Or at least more.
You're right.
They needed to be able to backtrack a little less.
You're right.
Because there's a lot of rooms I'm like, I don't want to fucking go through that room. And then every single time the monsters spawned in there and the monsters took forever to kill.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like...
I just found ways to start skipping them.
Well, that's what you do. You just start skipping them.
But that's what criticism we'll get to for me.
Yeah, but even in Dread, you look at something like Dread where all the monsters respawn when you come back because that's just part of Metroid.
Yeah.
The thing was is you got something like Screw Attack where you would just lay waste to your enemies once you got that near the end game. So going back and killing all of these bad guys didn't matter. It didn't stop you. You would literally just grind through them like a fucking chainsaw.
That's right.
It didn't matter. Prime, you can't do that. And then there are some enemies where you'd go through and you'd get like hit by a snowball and you're like, I'm just trying to run past you. Fuck off.
Now, interesting that the current Metroid Prime Remastered on Metacritic is running a 94 Metascore as opposed to the original that's running a 97. So it's held up from a critical review perspective. However, I have a couple big criticisms.
Yeah, I don't think it's worthy of a 94, to be honest.
No, probably not. I would say it's more like an 80, 85. Yeah, something like that. But so big criticism for me is exactly what you're talking about. You're running through these rooms multiple times. I ended up just finding ways to skip over a lot of the enemies. But if this is upgraded, they should have added in some kind of like RPG element or something where you're actually like getting experience off these creatures for killing them towards something. Toward anything.
No.
So, because I just don't have a reason to stop and kill these things over and over again. Like you put in stronger and stronger enemies in an area for me to encounter when I run through again. I don't give a shit. I'm just going to find a way to run past them.
I think the whole experience gaining is a terrible idea to implement into a Metroid. You do not want that in a Metroid game. That's a terrible idea.
What do you mean? You do it in Castlevania?
Yeah, this isn't Castlevania. This is Metroid.
What?
Yeah, this isn't the same.
Well, but it doesn't have to be XP. It could be points toward anything is what I'm saying. Maybe it's like crystals to unlock some new weapon in later in the game or something like that, or some bonus thing.
No, this game's not about grinding. It's about exploration. You're always supposed to explore. You are pushed to find the new corners of the map, not pushed to fight things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That sets a bad precedent. I don't know what the answer to your problem is.
Yeah.
What needs to happen is at some point in the game, you need to get a weapon that can just annihilate everything.
That'd be sweet.
You just need a weapon that can just, every enemy just gets destroyed by.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem is I'd be later in the game and I'd meet these hunters, right? The pirate hunters.
Right.
And okay, the ones that I had to hit with ice weren't too bad. The ones that I had to hit with magma or plasma weren't too bad. The ones that I had to hit with like the purple beam gun and the original pea shooter were awful. I hated them every single time I had to fight them. They needed those to go away. What they needed is your weapons to increase in damage or something.
Yeah, totally.
Through upgrades that you explore.
But maybe using your weapons on enemies helps increase that or something. Just all
no,
I'm saying is,
you don't ever want grinding.
I want there to be something to killing an enemy. I want there to be something because there's too many enemies in this game that I just choose to skip over because there's just no point in encountering them again.
But that's what I mean.
Which is such a shame because the combat is so good in this game.
I agree. In Metroid Dread, for example, or even Metroid Fusion, what you got was the screw attack. And the screw attack was you'd be jumping around the map because that's how you got around.
Yeah, that's true.
And as you jumped, the screw attack would just buzzsaw everything. So they stopped being something you fought. And just started being blood splatters on the walls. And that was kind of fun.
Toss them into the meat grinder.
I love it. So what they need in Metroid Prime to get that feeling is an upgrade that you can get that turns the day-to-day enemies into just splatters on the wall.
Just jello,
Just jello. This way, you're running through and all you're doing is target, shoot, okay, done this.
You're right, Even that would be enough. Even that
would be enough. So, but I get it. They have this thing where, okay, you have to switch to the right weapon for the right enemy based on colors and usefulness.
Yeah.
I get that. The problem is at some point in the game, you're fucking sick and tired of that, especially how many times you have to backtrack.
True.
So if they had, here's my opinion, if they had made, instead of doing that, if they had made the save areas teleportable between each of the saves, that would have solved that. You wouldn't have gotten as frustrated with having to go through the same room over and over again, fighting the same stupid little pirates that fly on their jetpack and dodge all your shots. Because you know that those are the ones that are really annoying. That wouldn't be a problem.
So the other criticism I have is when you do get into a combat scenario, I feel like first-person shooters have come a long way in terms of how complex the battle can be in terms of how many enemies are on screen, how they're moving, how they're attacking you. Everything in every encounter in this game with an enemy that's not like a regular animal, like running around on the planet, is fairly one-dimensional. You know what I mean? It's look at them, shoot them, you're done. You know what I mean? But there's not a great opportunity to really strategize around a battlefield. You're not getting attacked from all sides all the time.
True.
Yeah.
Considering
that's a big one for me.
Yeah, considering this game was sold more as because it was sold as not a action shooter. It was not a shooter. They said it was not an FPS.
Yeah.
It's more of a first person tactics shooter. So the idea is when you shoot, it's a puzzle shooter. That's
they're saying it's like a
puzzle shooter.
Action adventure exploration, right? So they're not so focused on the shooting, but the only exhilarating battles I've encountered so far were the ones with the thermal visor where I accidentally unleashed a couple tiny Metroids at the same time. So because then they're flying around trying to get you, the other guys are trying to get you, and I'm like, oh, this is fun, this is cool now. I'm jumping around doing my thing, But so I feel like shooters have come a long way from just a combat perspective, and this does not play into that at all. At all.
It felt like
some creative bosses, which is cool, but the regular room-to-room combat is just not good.
They felt like rock, paper, scissors slugfests.
Yeah.
Oh, you have red in you? Okay, plasma gun, back and forth, shoot each other while I dodge every once in a while.
Or there's like one platform room on maybe it's the lava area where there's like 4 turrets mounted on this building, and that's maybe the most exciting battle area of the whole game. You're getting pounded by turrets and trying to find your way through that. But there should be a lot more of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right with that. That's a very valid criticism.
So because of those two, I would say probably 80, 85 would be the tops for me for this game.
At the top.
Still really fun, and it holds up hella well. So considering the HD remaster, but
the other complaint I didn't get to that I alluded to before.
Yeah, what's that one?
Is the vomit-inducing thermal visor.
Oh, you don't like it?
The new one?
It's kind of fuzzy.
I got sick watching it. I got a headache using the thermal visor.
Holy shit.
I got a headache. It was so hard to watch and view and use. I would actively use the X-ray visor before I did the thermal visor.
Oh, interesting.
I would use the thermal visor. I would jump to it, look around for the switches on the doors that you had to shoot.
Yeah.
And then I would switch right back. And honestly, it cost me most of the game. I probably would have rage quit. My wife, at some point, she's like, listen, I'd get stuck in the map. Yeah. So I didn't know where to go. And I'd be like, Amanda, you need to help me out because she's my co-pilot. She'll help me out with games like Metroid to kind of, if I lose my way, she'll show up and be like, hey, here's a hint. I would get stuck, get frustrated, and she'd be like, are you using your thermal vision? I'd be like, no, I'm not using my vomit comet-inducing thermal vision. And then I turn it on. There's the door X-rayed right through, and I can see the door switch I have to shoot. I hated that thing. Hated it.
So there's at least one thread online where somebody's questioning if they should fix it in the remaster.
Well, so what happened was in the original GameCube, it actually looks a lot better.
Really?
Yes. And what happened was they added a filter on it that worked for the whole game as a whole. Right? When they added this filter to the game as in general.
Oh yeah, somebody said it here. Makes me sick like a constant motion blur.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Are you T4NK
Tank commander? Yeah, no.
So that's no, it's T4NK.
Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad. No. But I think it does need to be fixed because in my opinion, it's unusable. I got headaches. I didn't get sick. Like I didn't actually want to vomit, but I did. Like I had to squint and it caused pain in my eyes.
Yeah.
And eventually if I had it on long enough, which there was a few sections of the game where it was all dark and you had to use it, I would get headaches.
Like, so here's somebody, they're definitely championing the X-ray visor. So yeah, same thing you're talking about. Interesting.
I know.
Interesting. Reddit agrees with you, sir.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Wild.
It's just, I do think they need to fix that. And it's because of like the filters and the graphics they put on it. It just interacted very poorly with the heat visor.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
So interesting.
But aside from that, the game is really good. I think my wife has a very good opinion of it. It is boring because she's watched me play Dread. She's watched me play Hollow Knight. And she thought Prime was boring because Prime is it's not the same kind of game where Dread is like, there's a bit of like twitch play with shooting.
I could see where someone would say it's boring. I can see that actually.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Interesting.
But that's not what the game is. It's slow, methodical, environmental exploration.
Yes.
With some, every once in a while, a burst of back and forth shooting.
Anyway, I think it's enough, and it is back in the news now, so it's trending on Twitter again, too, because the physical copy, which was, I didn't even know there was going to be one, but came out, sold out immediately. Nintendo cannot produce more copies fast enough, and now it's selling for up to $400 on eBay, and anybody who pre-ordered it did not necessarily get it. So here's the situation we're in. I think Nintendo far underestimated how like starved Switch players were for a great first-party shooter.
I'm very happy for that, to be honest. I'm glad because I want Metroid to get big.
Yeah, look at the ad at the top, by the way.
That's Metroid Dread.
Isn't that the game?
That's Metroid Dread. Not you think we're talking about Metroid Prime, aren't we?
Well, this thread is about Metroid Prime, but I thought this was the ad on it.
No, that's the Reddit.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
page header at the top. That's Dread, which is just awesome.
Yeah,
easily the best Metroid game of all time.
Well, that's the one I'm gonna have to play. Yeah.
So you have this game that's like your dirty little secret.
Boy, okay.
I'm pulling it out.
Moving on from Metroid. I don't know if I really want to talk about this. So, so look, I have a 4-year-old. She's very much into Elsa from Frozen.
Okay,
very much. Okay, so
she's a little behind the time, I think.
A little bit, but it's all about Elsa. So pretty much every 4 to 7-year-old girl right now is still in love with Elsa. This will never go away. This is just a thing now. It's the zeitgeist we're in. So anyway, she loves Frozen. She loves Elsa. And I saw this Disney Dreamlight Valley game came out.
Oh, no.
And I thought, well, maybe I should get it and play it just to see if Elsa's in it so then Nora could play along. She doesn't really play any video games, right? And I thought this might be a good way to introduce her, right? So anyway, I got it and I started playing it. I'm like, oh, actually, you're doing a lot. You're doing some mining. You're doing.
How old is she now? Sorry,
she's 4 and a half. Okay. You're doing some. You're growing crops like an Animal Crossing. You're harvesting.
Oh, is that what this game is?
It's basically like a Stardew Valley / like farming sim, like
okay.
And there's a ton to do in it. There's a ton to do, and there's tons of quests as well. So like I was kind of lukewarm on it, and then like I get to the first quest, and it's like Scrooge McDuckie's like, I'm trying to build a shop. You're gonna build me a shop, so I'll sell you expensive things. and I'm like, actually, yeah, I do kind of want to buy some expensive stuff from you. So then I started on the quest, and I'm doing the things, and I'm getting the materials.
So you kind of took over playing?
Well, she hasn't played it yet. I haven't gotten to Elsa yet. I found Kristoff. I did a mission for him, and I see where the snow area is. So, in fact,
So you're trying to get it to the point where you know it will suck her in.
Well, I want to get to the part where you can actually make Elsa a companion.
Because
you can take any of them and make them a companion, and they'll follow you around, and you gain extra friendship points with that character for letting them follow you around and watch you.
Okay.
So anyway, I wanted her to be able to do that with Elsa. And she could change my character too. My character right now is me. It's a man, a human man, but she can change it into a woman if she wants to as well. So it doesn't matter because the game will give you male, female clothes, doesn't matter. You can wear whatever you want, right?
Yep.
But I figure she can make a female character, change him when she gets to that point, and then she can just run around herself. But anyway, the game's actually kind of fun. and it's fun to unlock new areas. And you could do a lot of farming in it. You could do, there's fishing mini game in it, which obviously I'm a sucker for fishing mini games. You know this about
you are.
me. I love fishing.
You love your
minigames.
everything games.
And then I unlocked Moana, so she's in the area now. And know what you do? Know what her little thing is that you could do? You can upgrade her little catamaran, and then she fishes for you if you upgrade it. So now I'm just collecting the fish. I'm just collecting them. I'm like a fishmonger over here, right? So, but the game's actually awesome.
Hey, Moana, do you have your fish taxes today?
Yeah, exactly. She has to deliver me 12 fish a day.
Oh, yeah, I'm only have 14% on fish tax. And by the way, you're welcome.
I'm going to have to break some toes. Like, I don't know. You don't really do that in that game. Not that I know of. But, and then honestly, I haven't even run into anything yet that's like too schlocky or anything. Like, it's actually pretty solid. So
pretty decent game.
And there's like 1,600 different clothing items you can get. And like, I'm fucking cool now. I unlocked some event where like, now I'm wearing a like sort of hip hop Mickey outfit. Anyway. It's a cool game. If you're a Disney fan, you will like it. So it's just, and there's no way to get harmed in the game. It's almost like Animal Crossing where you just chill. You're just there to chill. So I play it, I fall asleep.
It's a good
beautiful.
game.
It's beautiful. So anyway, Disney Dreamlight Valley, that's my part of playing and or watching. There you go.
Makes a lot of sense. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
If I were
Metroid Dread, but you know,
yeah, if I'd be trying to get like my own kid into a game, I think I would probably try and start with Pokemon Let's Go. Or, like Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee.
She's aware of Pokemon, but it's almost like the idea of like battling and stuff is almost like too complicated for her at this point.
Battle in that too often. It's mostly throwing the switch.
True.
You don't have her do the gym battles and the trainer battles. She gets to just throw the Pokeballs.
Yeah.
And go catch the cute one.
But I think all she's going to do is just like run around with Elsa following her and just talk to other characters.
That makes sense. Yeah, she's too young for Let's Go.
She's not going to get what else is going on. She's going to ask what they're saying anyway. So
that makes sense. Yeah. That's fair enough. That's pretty cool.
But anyway, I also bought a couple Lego games when they were on sale too, so I'll probably try some of those with her as well in the near future. See if she gets into them. But
I'm not going to lie. I've always feared that if I ever did have a kid, he'd be like, he'd grow up, he'd get to a certain age in young high school and be like, Dad, I want to go try out for football. No, you the fuck you aren't. You get back in there. You go do esports.
You get back in there and keep building your house in Minecraft, kid.
What's this going outside in the sunlight? You get back in and you keep doing your math in Factorio.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that's how it's going to go down.
I'd be afraid that my kid would, because kids tend to buck their parents.
Yep.
They tend to rebel. So I highly suspect my kid would rebel because I'd be a nerd and I'd be trying to show him games and then they'd eventually go, I don't want to do that. I want to do the opposite of what you want to do.
She does play a couple games on her tablet that she found. She got roped into some Paw Patrol game on her tablet and I see her playing that every now and then. It's like a collectathon type game, but you're running around different environments. With
I don't know if you remember, my brother who's been on the show was one of the lead animators for Paw Patrol.
Oh, for the show Paw Patrol?
Yeah.
No shit. I remember he was working on a show. He didn't mention the title at that time.
Yeah, he used to work at the company that I don't think he does anymore.
Kidding.
He used to work at the company that makes Paw Patrol.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'll look at the credits then for some of the older episodes.
Yeah, you might be in there.
He was a guest on our show. If you look back in the holiday 2020, 2021.
Years ago.
It was when you were in this house. It was your first year in this house.
So it also could have only been 2 years.
Yeah, so it was 2021.
Yeah.
So go and look at December 2021. I think it was called An Evening with the Silicon Knight.
Yeah, that's right.
That was a studio we worked for.
Yes, we were going back in his past.
The storied history of Silicon Knights.
Yes,
it was a wonderful episode.
Okay, so I have been getting back into Satisfactory. It's been a lot of updates. Obviously, I talked about Factorio.
Yeah.
And
did you leave angrily? Before you came back?
No.
Interesting.
No, Factorio, even though Factorio is now my favorite automation game.
Okay. Broad genre. Okay.
Well,
I'm kidding.
It's not really. There's only four games in that genre.
Exactly.
There's like 4 or 5 games that are like Satisfactory, Dyson Sphere, which is an early access, and Factorio. Like any other game is like they're not as good as those. They're not the same.
Right.
But there are other games like it, but they just don't get the same fame. No, Satisfactory was what got me into it during the early days of the original of the pandemic. And I really liked it. It was when it came out on Epic and it wasn't out on Steam yet. And my wife and I played it a lot. We really enjoyed it, but we eventually hit the end because it was early access and we got there. And it's hilarious the amount I've learned about automation games in the 4 years now since the original pandemic. 2019, 4 years. Because now I'm immediately building way better factories.
Nice.
With all the same gear. I'm just more efficient. My math is all there. Like I now can just look at, 60 output, which is early game. I know 60 outputs are early game. Okay, I know this will make this will make this many things, this will break in this. I can just quickly do the math.
Gotcha.
And it's really interesting to see her playing. She won't play Factorio because it's not pretty. Okay. She's very attracted to pretty games. So the only automation game I can get her to play is Satisfactory.
Okay, gotcha.
But we play it, and she'll go and make the factories pretty. Yep. So I build the factory to be functional, and then she just goes around and makes it pretty. Nice. We have mods for little couches and tables, so she'll be like, and here's a boardroom for your factory.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. There's not much to say about it. It's not fully out yet.
Yeah.
I do want to say something I am excited for in the future, though. Baldur's Gate 3 got official release date.
That's right. Was that at the Sony?
Yeah.
I think the State of Play?
I think it was at the State of Play. Yeah. I think it was announced for August.
Yep. Wild.
So I'm excited for that.
When was Baldur's Gate 2?
Fuck, I don't know. So many years ago.
Holy shit, dude.
This is the kind of thing I'd have to do research if I knew we're like a PAL. We don't really do research for. So I don't know.
It would have been ages, years and years, maybe even decades.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Let's see. Baldur's Gate. It
was a long time ago. But it looks good. It's using the D&D 5e rule set, which I don't know how legal that is anymore. What do we got here? 2000.
Holy shit, bro. Oh my God. Wow.
That is a long time.
Holy shit. Early port to Mac OS too in 2001. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a fun CRPG. I really enjoyed Wrath of the Righteous, but I thought it was a little bit too bulky.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that the more simpler rule set and the more thematic style of Baldur's Gate will play very well.
Nice.
So no, I'm excited for it. And it is turn-based. It's designed to be turn-based.
Wow.
Which is what I really want in a CRPG.
Wow.
So no, that's pretty much it. I'm loving Satisfactory. Obviously I've played Remastered. We talked about that. No, that's pretty much it.
Hell yeah, man. A good game to announce as well. There was a few good announcements at the State of Play. Sony State of Play. Let's see. Any watching for you?
I am watching. So a little bit of a spoiler alert, I guess, for this one. I think I've talked about it on the Raised by Spoilers podcast. We are starting up another, not a new podcast, but it's a inside of Raised by Spoilers.
Yeah.
Called Instant Noodles.
Okay.
So Amanda, feminist warlord Amanda, and I, we will be doing a show where we talk about anime.
That's awesome.
It's kind of like a little, I don't want to say a mini Raised by Spoilers. Kind of like that, but it's smaller. It's meant to be like a half an hour. So we just sort of talk about things that are coming out. It's more of a POW specifically for anime. That's about that.
That's awesome.
And so because of that, I've been focusing a lot on anime recently again, and some of the ones that are coming out. Trigun Stampede. I've been watching and really enjoying.
Is it really good?
Is
it a remake or a continuation?
No, it's a reimagining.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's not even the same exact storyline.
Yeah, like a Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood-ish type thing.
Even more different.
Really?
Even more different.
Nice.
Hilariously enough, it does have the same voice actor for Vash, though.
Interesting.
He came back.
Wild.
But it's a very different show.
Because that was mid to late 90s, wasn't it? 95, 96, 97?
It was the guy who played, I think it was the guy who played the Power Ranger. It was either Basco, Josh Basco or whatever.
Johnny Bosch.
Yeah, Johnny. I think he played Power Ranger.
Johnny something Bosch.
Yeah, I think he played the Power Ranger at some point.
He did.
So yeah.
Johnny Young Bosch. He was definitely a Red Ranger at some point. Or a Black Ranger.
I think he was Black Ranger.
Yeah. Ninja Rangers, he was the Black Ranger. How do I know that?
I have no idea.
That's one of those weird ones, man. I couldn't remember Miyamoto's name earlier, and now I just pulled that out of my ass. So, welcome to my mind, people.
But he came back for the voice, which is nice. Mind you, I watch it subtitled at this point because I'm caught up. And then I'm also I finished watching the season of the new Gundam series in forever. Gundam, The Witch from Mercury.
Sounds badass. Don't know anything about it. Sounds badass, though.
Well, I'll talk about it more. So if you want to hear more about those shows, go listen to Instant Noodles. It's not out yet by the time you're hearing this. We are recording our first few episodes. So
I want to hear Instant Noodles. I want to hear it. So I'm going to sub.
We're doing our piloting and kind of learning our footing, learning how to communicate and learning our artwork and stuff like that, how we want to put it all together. But it should be out in the next few months. It'll just be an in-between. If you go check out the Raised by Spoilers podcast, mid-month, Raised by Spoilers happens at the start of the month. This will be sort of a mid-month filler.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome. I'm excited about that. My only gripe about Raised by Spoilers, there's not enough of it. So that's my only problem. I love that show. I'm going through the announcements from State of Play.
There really isn't.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton. There was some VR stuff, Sony VR stuff.
Well, that's because they were showing off and they were getting ready to release the VR 2.
Yeah.
Which one of my cousins got. But there isn't that many games for it. You know what I was really pissed off about with the VR 2? Beat Saber's not on it yet.
Oh, that's a problem.
It got
far and away the most popular game from the original. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably the most popular VR game of all time.
Wow.
At this point.
What a shame.
It wasn't on it. I was hoping to play DDR. I don't have it. I was hoping it would be crossplay because it is currently crossplay among Steam and all the other stuff. I was hoping I'd be able to play it against my cousin, but I can't.
Wild.
They don't have it yet.
Wild. I was looking at whatever this game is. Goodbye Volcano High.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
I have no idea.
I don't know. What am I even looking at? Dragons? Are these dragon anthropomorphic furry people?
You clearly date dragon people.
The furries are going to love it. They're going to love it. So I thought there was another couple of really good announcements they come out with, but I didn't find them. I think Baldur's Gate was the best announcement.
Yeah. And it wasn't really a new announcement. It was just, hey, we have a date and it's coming to this console.
Yeah, Street Fighter 6 announcements. Guess what? Cammy's in the game.
The redrawing, the re-artwork of Cammy, that was a big deal.
That's this?
Yeah. So they redid her art. You know, she's usually wearing the one-piece unitard.
Yep.
That shows off her thighs.
Green unitard, yeah.
I thought it was a blue. Oh, it is green. You're right. It is green. Well, she does blue and green.
I don't know.
She wears both blue and green, depending on circumstances.
Last Street Fighter game I would have played in earnest was like Street Fighter Alpha 2 or something. So it's been a minute.
They gave her basically pants and a jacket now.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
So it's more of like a workout outfit.
Well, they always have a ton of outfits for characters in it, so you never know.
Yeah, they do. But it's actually really, really good. I think there you go. There's your art for it. So you can't see this on YouTube quite yet. We'll show it off. You go look it up.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah. She's got more like a workout kind of
outfit. Is she British? She's gone full Union Jack here?
Yep. Yeah, she's British.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool. So she's got the blue color and
awesome. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to Street Fighter 6 though. I like the idea of the isn't there some sort of open world element to it as well?
I don't know how much there is going to be of it, but the idea is you're supposed to go around and complete tasks and fight like street fights because they have a very Street Fighter.
That's cool as hell.
They're really going for the name Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
I would love it.
That's the kind of thing that would suck me in because otherwise I'm probably not going to buy another fighting game anytime soon.
I don't play fighting games because I kind of suck at them, but
I just don't have the time to dedicate to being any good at them anymore.
That's the problem. Is they're kind of like Valorant or Overwatch.
Yeah,
they're only competitive.
Yep.
The only value you get out of it is competitive.
That's right.
And I don't have time for that anymore. I'm an old man. I don't have that anymore.
Yeah, I certainly don't have time for it. I'm struggling just to play a little bit of Disney Dreamlight Valley. So that's where I'm at. So
if you give me an open world JRPG style fighter where instead of going into a JRPG back and forth, I'm doing a single player fighter against an AI.
Yeah.
Where I'm leveling up kind of like, you go in and you go explore the world, you do quests that give you level up and you're leveling up your own personal character and you're fighting all these other characters in a Street Fighter, to be the best Street Fighter, whatever you want to call it. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Where, you're now scheduled for a match at this underground arena and maybe you're earning more pay.
Yep.
Or something like that over time goes on and you're more, street cred or stuff like that. That would be cool. I'd be down. That'd sell me real quick.
I love that idea. I hope they do something akin to it.
Add some type of RPG element into it. I'd be sold.
Speaking of games with RPG elements smashed into them, Harry Potter. So did you hear about this? Harry Potter, sorry, it's not Harry Potter, Hogwarts Legends. So
Hogwarts Legacy.
Don't even care. So it came out. I do want to play it. Looks good. We did a lot of Harry Potter stuff recently, kind of talking about this in the lead up. So the game was boycotted. So still managed to make in its first couple of weeks about $850 million. So it sold some titles. It sold some copies.
Did you see the tweet from Rowling?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God.
Was she fishing for more controversy?
I don't remember the exact wording, but she put out a tweet that was somewhere around, thank you to all of the LGBT woke community. Without you, this wouldn't have sold so well.
Oh, damn. She's absolutely savage, man.
Fucking brutal.
My God. So tweet on Hogwarts. I just want to read it.
Oh, yeah. You got to get the exact wording.
That's brutal. So let's see.
I don't know if you're going to get
Forbes reported it.
That's possible.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
I don't know where it is either. Who knows? Anyway, but yeah, obviously we made our position on this pretty clear in the episode. You can go back a couple episodes ago and listen, so you'll hear our official position on it. You can probably guess that we're not. I would say we're the wokest people out there, but I'll tell you this: so we're not about hating on people neither.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not. It's a bit of a problem in that regard. So, but it's wild though that she's right. She's right. It's the crusade against the game that got it the most exposure, and maybe that's something that WB actually bet on in the development of the game.
It's possible. It's kind of what's that line?
I have heard that there's some parts of the game that are not great, so it's
a mediocre game.
Yeah,
I would say it's a really good game if you love the Harry Potter franchise. It really gets you into the world, and I think that's really cool. It's got some cool stuff, but it didn't like wow me.
Yeah,
it didn't.
Oh, have you played it?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It's a good it's an slightly above okay game. Okay. Like it's not a bad game. Yeah. It's not even a game that attracts no attention. There are the worst games are the ones that are neither good nor bad. They're just they exist. Yeah. Those are the worst games. At least the bad ones get fame for being bad. Right. This is like slightly above the meh. Like it's good.
Now, for a licensed property game, I'm thinking of like Jedi Fallen Order. How would it stack up against like a Jedi Fallen Order? Like not even close?
Oh, that's a rug? No, no. Jedi Fallen Order is so much better.
Okay, interesting.
By miles.
Interesting.
By miles.
Interesting.
Mind you, there are two very different kinds of games. Hogwarts is more of an open world.
Just from like a licensed, predominantly movie franchise moving into a game, like how is it kind of thing? It's been a while for a real Harry Potter.
I think it creates the world really well. Yeah. It builds a really good world, which is what it's mostly known for. Gotcha. So it's not known Jedi Survive. Is that what we're talking about? Fallen Order. Yeah. That's more of like a Metroidvania.
Very much so.
Block parry, really complex combat. Yeah. This is not that. This is more of a. I don't even call it a Breath of the Wild. It's not even that good. It's an open world that embraces you into the world. Gotcha. It's more of a. It's just being in that world. That's all it is. It's a chill game about being in that world. Cool. That's all. Interesting. And it does that very well, but it's still, because of that, it's kind of like...
So honestly, it's a game that probably needed the controversy to drive the sales. So
I don't think so.
No?
It might have sold more because of the controversy.
I think it sold more because of it.
I think it did, but I don't think it needed it.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of that line from, what is it? Captain America and the Winter Soldier or whatever, where it's like, you're right, but you're out of line. Yeah. Where you look at rather like, yeah, you're right, but you're out of line.
Wow.
That's what I think about it.
Anyway, so everybody's winning because of that. I did have one more thing to bring up. Oh, yeah. So for next episode, one thing I'll introduce is my first impressions on Octopath Traveler 2, which just dropped this last week, so I picked it up.
I'm excited to hear about that.
I'll be playing that quite a bit going into this weekend, hopefully. I'll have to take a break from Disney Dreamlight Valley for that.
How could you do
that?
The
weeds are going to grow very quickly. So actually, there's not even any weeds. They're all things you can harvest, like basil and pesto. I'm not even kidding.
And those are things. And there'll never be a negative where like it screws up if you don't do something because it's a kid's game. It'll work out perfectly.
There's literally no consequences in the game whatsoever. You can even just like walk away from a quest in the middle of the quest, just kind of go back to it whenever you want. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. It's a beautiful thing. I love it. It's very relaxing. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Octopath 2 because I loved Octopath 1 and I played the shit out of it. Yeah, so I'm very much looking forward to it. And some people were complaining like, oh, it's another 100-hour JRPG. Look. If you don't get at this point that the JRPG formula is like bare minimum, like 50, 60 hours of game, then just don't play them anymore. Don't play them. I don't know what else to tell you, people.
I think the problem is we want generally, and Chained Echoes proves that it's possible, is a lot of people, especially our age, want the story of a JRPG, sure, but they don't want the I don't have a life commitment to a JRPG. Right? Chrono Trigger proved that. Chained Echoes proves it. Yep. And there are a few others that can prove it, but no one can survive the Xenoblade Chronicles 3 anymore. Like, no one can do it.
So it's almost like it's a unique challenge though. It's a modern day challenge to play through an entire JRPG. So I love it. It is true. So they're everything games. It's what the Gooch said.
That is true.
So it's a fact. It's what it is. So that's everything I got for this episode. There's probably stuff I'm missing. We'll probably do an Ant-Man review as well. You need to see Ant-Man. Yeah. We got to do an Ant-Man review. I love Marvel reviews are like one of my guiltiest pleasures on the show.
I agree. I don't want to give them money though. I'm so sick and tired of Marvel.
I'll just give you the ticket. I got the points. I got the scene points. I got it for
Don't
free.
get me wrong. It's just
I'll
considering
tell you
its
this.
bad reviews.
I'll tell you this, and maybe this will wet your whistle a little bit. It's the best Star Wars since like Star Wars Episode 3.
What?
Yeah, it's the best Star Wars since Star Wars Episode 3.
Okay, I'm amazed that those two are combined. That's interesting.
So you need to see it. You need to see
We'll
it.
talk about it next episode.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's it from us on Ronin Geek Fish Podcast. Thank you for joining. Please, if you can, please listen and sub to this app on Bitcade Podcast app. It's a great podcast app. We have some bonus content posted on there as well. If you unlock the bonus content, you monetize us as well. And that encourages us to keep doing this. And why we're doing it, I don't know. But if you enjoy it, unlock it, and maybe we'll keep doing more. So we are coming up. This May will be like the sort of 5th anniversary of the show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 2018 it started.
Wow.
Yes. Holy shitballs.
I'm not going to lie. I don't know why, but whenever I look back at our catalog of episodes,
Yeah.
I always feel I didn't realize how soon to the beginning of this podcast I joined.
Oh, dude, you were like right in within the first year, I think. weren't you?
I was within like the first like 15 episodes.
Yeah. So
I didn't
were right there.
realize that.
Yeah,
I thought you guys had been going on for a long time, for at least a year or something before I joined.
No, you joined when we did the Dragon Ball review.
Yeah. Broly.
And there was a Dragon Ball movie we missed somewhere in there. We should never miss another Dragon Ball movie.
You're
again.
right. We missed a few of them, actually.
Yeah. So we should never miss another one. That should always be like
there's only one Dragon Ball movie since then.
Yeah. But we should never miss them because that should be like a watershed moment every time we do it.
That's true.
Marvel movie reviews, Star Wars movie reviews, Dragon Ball movie reviews, the guiltiest pleasures we could possibly have on the show.
True.
Let's be honest.
There are
dude.
sins.
And I just want to dive deep into Ant-Man, just deep into him in that movie. And
You want to go micro-size, get into his asshole, and then spread out and expand?
Explode him. Yeah. And the way they should have killed Thanos. And anyway, it's something we got to do. So anyway, that's this episode. Please listen. Make sure to check out Raised by Spoilers, sister podcast there. Definitely a lot of fun had on there. Great guilty pleasure topics on there as well.
This coming month, next week, we're calling it Macho March. We got Conan the Barbarian.
I'm all in on Macho March, bro.
Great movie, great time. It's a great listen. And we had a great time recording it.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear it. That's going to be fun. Well, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.